crazy, crazy, crazy time. I want to introduce you all to, there's a few folks. First of all, thank you. Thank you. Folks caught the NL. Folks got Ubers and Lyfts. Some people walked. The parking is crazy, but we did want to be at a high school today because there's a lot of evil coming out of the White House, which we're going to talk about tonight, but we know that we have to love on our educators and our students in this moment. And Oakland High and OUSC, there's so much magic that is happening. I spent the morning at Castlemont. Castlemont has right? We got to bring back the Castleers and fill that pool. We'll talk about that later. But their principal, this young African-American brother, with so much energy, has come to be really a haven of love and support, and just to know the demonization that educators are going through. Being at Oakland High right now, being at Castlemont this morning, I just can't wait to get back to DC on Monday. We have stories to tell. We are going to chant down tyranny. Okay, this is not in the script, but I got so excited to see you all. Tiala Jadala is just a wonderful sister. She is my chief of staff and came way to the Bay Area to be with us this week. We were here. We are setting up our office. I want you all to know, Diala is actually going to give us some sort of roadmap of what we're going to do in the next hour. But one of the things that I really wanted to do was it's weird being on the stage. As an organizer, I like to be on, in it. But there's a couple things that I want to start off with in acknowledging. And I told y'all when I was running, whether you voted for me or not, I work for you. I said that we were going to set up an amazing district office. And we finally, first of all, the feds, you think the city and county is slow? The feds are super slow. Miss Lee, who I love so dearly, had an office space at the Kaiser building. Some of you all remember. And it was, I know it's really small. It was about 1,400 square feet. Okay. And it was also, I'm telling all of our business tonight. And it was also $14,000 a month. What I wanted to do was to honor my promise to you that we would actually find an Oakland Bay Area office or C12 office that was going to be an organizing space. We found that office. Okay, you find the office and then you have to get it approved from DC, especially in a DC now that is completely run by Republicans. It was extremely difficult, but we are there. We are there, and we're going to have an amazing Oakland office opening very soon. I want you all in there. Actually, just the other day, it's not all beautiful yet. We hosted small business owners in our local ethnic chambers, and it was fantastic. There is a refrigerator, and it is ADA accessible, and it is all the things. You can bring your babies, and it is a place where we are not just going to be working in office. We are going to be organizing in that space. We're going to be organizing in that space. So for those of you who have had some trouble connecting, I spent my 30 years of my life keeping my foot on the necks of elected. So I know there's some folks probably in here who are super angry and disappointed that we weren't up on day one. I apologize, but I promise you the space and our team are going to be second to none. I have some Oakland staff in the audience. Raise your hands. They're amazing. They're young. They're brilliant. They're beautiful. We are going to have a staff that reflects this district. We have folks from literally, I imagine, and I envision a staff just like our DC staff that is racially and spiritually and experience diverse. The organization that we are building will be one that throws down for you every single day here and in DC. Okay, enough for my TED Talk. I'm going to do some more of that in a second. I'm so thankful, and I do feel so accountable to the folks in this room. And where we fall short, I will always be held accountable. I will always tell the truth. I will always let you know where we are slipping and where we can go forward. You are owed that. Our elected officials locally, we owe that. We owe the transparency, the hard work. We owe you to come early and leave late. With that, Diala is brilliant. By the way, like I said, worked in the Biden administration. Even if you didn't like Biden, I did. She was doing some really damn good work in the policy center, particularly trying to get us to a peaceful resolution in Palestine, Israel. She's been doing work with USAID. She's been doing so much good stuff. I was so blessed to be able to hire her and other members, senior young members of both the Biden White House and folks on the Hill to lead our DC office. We have organizers in our local office. Diala's going to let you guys know how we're envisioning, based on a lot of your feedback, how we would do this first of many in-person town halls. Look, I'm a single mom, but I want to be out here almost every week at least. So this is the first. We are throwdown in Washington. I'm going to get on a red eye. I'm going to be out here damn near every week. And so this is not going to be the last time we are going to be face to face. You're probably going to be seeing me more than you want to. But we're starting here now. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for literally calling. We get hundreds of calls every single day. I love those calls. The emails that you do send to us, we read those emails. We read each and every one of them. For those of you who stop by in our office, because y'all be coming in, no appointment, like hello. And I'm like, hello. I love it. I love it because it's actually your office. We're in the Longworth building. We have an ADA office that is accessible. And I really want you all to know the keys that we hold to the limited amount of power that we have. It is ours to yield. So thank you for tonight. Diala, take us through what we're going to do.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me a little bit? Okay. Diala. Oh, there we go. Hi. Thank you all for coming tonight. You've been given question cards that you can also use as a comment card as well. If you can fill those out, Hannah and Ellie will be coming up and down the aisles to pick those up. We can use that to start taking some questions after the Congresswoman walks you through a little bit of what she's done the first 3 months in office. And then once we get through some of those questions, if there's other burning questions, we're happy to take additional questions from the audience, but this will be the best way at the beginning to make sure we're addressing everyone's questions fairly. So let me know if you have any questions, or you can ask Hannah and Ellie, and we'll go ahead and turn it back to the Congresswoman. Thanks so much again for coming.
Yeah, you know what? What we can do, what we want to do. Some folks will have to leave. I really want to respect y'all's time, and the other folks who want to stay, particularly the babies. Please, babies, stay. I would love that opportunity for you all. I can be here for a little bit longer than what's on the schedule, because we know that there's just so much to dig into and talk about. So again, if you have to leave, please leave. Go take care of your families. Go grocery shopping. Get it moving. And for those who can stay after time, we'll stay a little bit longer. Is that okay? Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So what has been difficult about being a member of Congress? You know, I have staff, and they like me to read things instead of just talk. As organizers, we have bullhorns and we just shout what we need to happen. So I'm actually going to talk to you all a little bit about all the things that are wrong, that you all know why you're here. But I also want to make sure you're clear that collectively we have for C12 a vision. We know what we want. We're talking about tonight about all those things that are being ripped down, but it's pretty clear. We're also clear that we're in unity. We want health care when we need it, not just when it's an emergency, right? Like, we're clear about that. That teachers should make double what they're making now, that our class sizes should be no more than 30. We know that Medicaid and Medicare are core to the backbone of not just this community, but of the nation. It's the most basic of social safety nets that we all have all paid into. We know, and again, some of you all know that, listen, I had a grandmother who loved Jesus. I was raised Muslim, and I went to a Jewish day school. So I'm always digging out places within Scripture, which to many people who are not faithful people, but they understand the literature, that there are no new stories under the sun. And in Isaiah 10, verse 1 and 2, it is super clear that even those good folks were saying, woe is to the man who moves forth unjust laws. Unjust laws that forget and disparage the widow and the fatherless and the sick. I am a Martin Luther King, Barbara Lee, Shirley Chisholm Democrat. So when they're talking about the things that you are enraged about potentially ending Social Security, slashing Social Security, advancing Social Security requirements to folks who are 59 and above, Hundreds of thousands of folks just in the state of California will be affected. When we talk about closing down Social Security offices, as somebody who was a widow who had to sit in the Berkeley Social Security office and wait 60 minutes plus to just see a person to get a $600 death benefit. My daughter, Layla, she relies to this day on her father's death benefit. My mother, like many of you, are retired and they get a little retirement check, and that Social Security is the only way that many folks pay rent and or mortgage or the small amounts of food opportunities they can get every month. I know this. We are enraged by the ending of what you all fought for, many in this room, the Department of Education, right? We know that it's a ridiculous lie that is being told by the administration, that the Department of Education is influencing the way children are taught. I want to be clear, the folks who are running the United States don't know how government works. We know that the school boards in counties are in charge of curriculum. And you know what we know about DOE and why we are going to win this and other battles in the long term? We know that DOE supports disabled children's opportunity to learn in classrooms. As a visually impaired, now grandmother, but as a child, my mother had to fight for me to get an IEP. I had an aide that taught me, as a visually impaired person, how to integrate in community. You better be damn sure you know your representative is going to be telling our stories about the rights, the human rights of disabled children, of queer children, of trans children. The OCR, which is the Office of Civil Rights that is in the Department of Education, has taken up over the last two administrations. They have made it their business to not only investigate sexual assault on K through 12 and college campuses. OCR has had the backs of queer and trans children all over the United States that have been bullied and murdered and disparaged in our classrooms. When you shut down the DOE, you shut down ADA opportunities and civil rights for young people who deserve them the most. You cut lunches and you cut breakfast. Many of you, whether you were in the Black Panther Party or you were cutting up signs or making signs at Berkeley, you fought for breakfast programs to be expanded across the country. We will make sure that they don't end. Okay, I'm doing it, Diala. Diala was like, read the stuff. Okay, I'm gonna read the stuff. What's the passcode again? I'm sorry. It's really hard in Congress when you only have a minute to do a floor speech. If you haven't been watching, it's serious stuff, but you can tell my heart and my soul, I've never, ever, ever, ever been so honored to do anything else but to represent you all in the United States Congress, because you're probably going to have to open this up, Diala. And you know, I want to start taking your questions, but I want to say a couple of things about what I've done in the last 3 months, and I'll get to the stuff that you really want me to say, because I'll end up, again, talking about all the things that are pissing me off every single day. But I want you to know that, like Miss Lee, I am not afraid of any Republicans. As a Black disabled woman who's a widow, I don't care about losing my job. I don't care about not having a position of leadership in the Democratic Party. If it means that I am doing what you sent me there to do. So absolutely, I voted hell no on the CR. Absolutely hell no. And I am extremely saddened. I'm extremely saddened, disappointed, and outraged at Senate Democrats who didn't do the right thing. The small piece of leverage that we had just 1 week ago. I don't know what they were thinking. And I am a blue Democrat. But I'm gonna say, I'm a blue Democrat, all right? But that doesn't mean party line is always the line to go if you have to sell out your people. If you have to sell out your people. And, you know, I tried, brothers and sisters, I tried to sit through the State of the Union, whatever you want to call it, the joint address, the hour and a half of lies. I tried because my mother told me, don't ever let anybody kick you out of your house. And so I went. But the moment that he started talking about dead people being on the Social Security rolls, when we know, let me tell you, when my husband Kevin died, his funeral home reported him. You guys know how this works, the widowers and the widows in the audience, or the folks who have lost people in their lives. We know that it is the law for funeral homes to report the death immediately to Social Security. They did it so fast in our case, even our cable got turned off. I was like, hold on. Like these lives of real people who are running our government, who've never had to put food back at the grocery store, who've never had to wait on a waiting list to get their kid into the school that was close to them. The folks that have no idea what it means to have union power fight for you when you are being sexually harassed on the job. These folks put forth an absolute evil reconciliation proposal that does a number of things. And I have gotten into fights on national TV with, oh my goodness, with folks denying what the CR says it wants to do. Basically, it's giving what happened. If folks don't know the term CR, let me tell you, in this case, it's a bunch of lies that are constitutionally void, that will be illegal, that hands the power of the United States Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, to the president. The framers were extremely clear. They created the House of Representatives as a 2-year commitment, as folks who need to be closest to the people as possible. And we have the power of the purse. So we fund every single year with these budget processes, USAID. We fund the Department of Education. We fund opportunities for folks to be able to assert their consumer rights. All of these amazing institutions that we have resurrected are being gutted. A couple of things that I have chosen to do, not just in saying no to the CR. During that joint address, you all know that I walked out. When he started literally disrespecting everybody in this room and your family members, I just couldn't take it anymore. I went back to my office to prepare for a hearing the next day on welcoming and sanctuary cities. The work that we have to do is so serious. I refuse to sit in the room with the neo-Klan. So a few things around leadership that, I definitely think that is, super important. Because, you guys said, if you're going to go to Congress, if you're going to follow in the stead of Barbara Lee, don't just go and sit down, lead. So, I came into Congress. It's only been 3 months. We got letterhead like a week and a half ago, which is amazing. I finally have cards. Catherine Clark, who is wonderful. She is the minority whip, meaning she's right under Hakeem Jeffries. She asked me a couple of weeks into my term if I would take a leadership position in the Democratic Party. And I am a deputy whip, a deputy policy whip, which shockingly, very few freshmen in the history of the United States Congress have had such a position. So being able to be at the table, raising a lot of hell, even with my good people in the Democratic Party, I said yes, because it's what you sent me to do. I am a vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And let me tell you why it's important, and I refuse, because you all have sent me to Congress to be a progressive. I refuse to give up the lexicon of being a progressive. I refuse to stop talking about people of color and queer folks and disabled folks and centering trans kids. I refuse to be a centrist Democrat. God bless us, because we are all one party and we all need to be in all kind of places. But I come from California's 12th district. And who we are proud of the 150 languages that we speak here. We are proud that people right now are praying to the east and the west. We are proud that everywhere we go, we tell the story of who we are. And so as a member of the CPC and the Progressive Caucus, as a vice chair, I plan to not only bring our politics forward, but to push other Democrats to do right by us. To do right by us. I don't know what slide I'm on, but I also decided, I know this is just like you guys work so hard. So let me I want to actually read this part, then we're going to get to questions, I promise. Okay, so, being a new member, I was raised in a Bay. We love our politics, we love our government, but we love our people even more, but we also understand that people are political. And I came as a Black woman to Congress representing almost 850,000 folks, the most progressive, but also the most diverse district in the country. The most diverse. You know what? I did forget San Leandro in my talk. And it was out of nervousness. My next town hall is actually going to be at the library. So we are going to make sure we're in. I will never forget San Leandro again. Y'all really let me know. Don't forget the dro. So I am on the Progressive Caucus. I'm on the Congressional Black Caucus. Of course, because I learned from the best, Representative Barbara Lee, who also was a leader on the Congressional Asian and Pacific Islander Caucus. I am on that caucus. I am on the Reproductive Health Caucus. We will win back the rights to our bodies in our lifetime. And I'm on the Democratic Women's Caucus. And really, that's a lot of caucus talk. But for me, it's important to be very central in the conversations about the legislative agenda in this moment. And it's deeply difficult to legislate, but I refuse to give up the small leverage that we have. Some Democrats, God bless us, they are feeling down and out because, again, we're not in a constitutional crisis. We are actually in the war. A lot of folks ain't built for this, but I am. And I want to be clear that we are getting ready to fight and win. We are going to get it ready every single day to fight and win. So what are we doing? Okay, so all the things that are bad. There are so many things that are very, very difficult. Family, I do deeply believe that we still have the power of our vote. We have the power of community, which is strong and is fierce and is showing out all over the nation. The stock market is showing its distaste with of all things. The stock market is saying, go home, right? The international community is extremely clear. We are also working with organizations like Democracy Forward. And I know Indivisible is up in here strong tonight. We're working with organizations who are suing the hell out of this administration every single day. And I gotta say, we are winning. We're winning, and it doesn't feel like it because you have an administration who doesn't support or protect or support the law. But that being said, we push back on birthright citizenship, right? We won that battle in the short term. We will win it in the long term. We will continue to sue around, again, the halting of payments to our federally qualified health clinics. We will continue to sue and show up in court. We will continue to push the bench to abide by their oath. Democrats can take back the gavel in 2026, and I will tell you this. There are young voices in the Democratic Party on the congressional floor, and we are fierce, and we are moving things forward, and we love the opportunity to serve in a way really that takes, I want to be sweating at the end of the day because our people deserve that. That said, I know I forgot a lot of stuff, Tiala, but we're not dating anymore, guys. We go together. We go together. Like, I work for you. I'm employed by you until you deem that I shouldn't be in the office. I do want term limits for women members of Congress, but I have hopefully some more time left, hopefully in this decade, to turn this tide. You guys have a lot of questions. Let's just get right to them and let me know what I forget at the end. So there's stuff that we need to put out there and update folks on.
Thank you. What are you doing to stop the destruction of the federal? Sorry. Somewhere back here.
Here, you can have mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1. What are you doing to stop the destruction of the federal government and protect federal workers?
Yep. So like I said in the beginning, I can talk loud while we figure it out.
Oh, it just came out.
Oh, it just came out? Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'll get my mic.
Give it up to Ron Muhammad. He's keeping us safe tonight. There's a lot of folks, the danger of being an elected official. I had no idea until I got into Congress. But you know what? We're so proud. I don't care how many death threats I get. Every single day we have a job to do. What are we doing? What am I doing as an individual member of Congress, as a new member of Congress? Everything that I can possibly do. You might have seen, the first few days of our president, after he was sworn in, he started immediately signing executive orders. I began to organize with members of the Progressive Caucus and other members with the New Dems as well, and we went straight out to the streets. You saw us at the USAID protests. You saw me hopefully right in front of the Department of Education. And there were a few folks online, and I had to take Twitter off my phone because it's just a lot of madness. Why didn't you just storm in to the Department of Education and demand answers? We were outside trying to get in. What the cameras didn't see is that the Trump administration deputized about 40 men from Homeland Security who had their hands on their guns. We were duly elected members of Congress, and we were shut out of that building. It was a very, very large message, loud message that this is a very, very new time. What are we doing specifically? One, like I said, we're working with our litigation partners to make sure that every day there is a new opportunity to sue the hell out of this administration, because they don't have literally the legal standing to take down these federal agencies. They don't have the legal standing to fire people en masse. We are all good with a government that is more efficient. I mean, I don't know who has been on the line even before they signed this executive order trying to get financial aid for your kids, but it's been a mess for a long time. But this is not the way that you do it. You don't take the opportunity to fire 1,000 employees from the VA. On February 14th, there's been 3,000 members of the VA staff that have been fired all over the country. That's not America first. So we'll continue in Congress, one, to work with our litigation partners. There are a number of pieces of legislation that I have signed on to. They may not make it to the floor, but we're going to fight like hell in committee to make sure that there's an opportunity to get closer to the floor to protect those workers. We're also working so closely with our union labor family. I mean, SEIU. If SEIU is in the house, my God, we love you. The folks from ASME, AFL, folks are just throwing down. Our aviation workers are being fired. Again, I believe my job on a day-to-day basis is not only to sign on to legislation, be in the streets, which we have been in the streets, every single opportunity there is to push up against physically with our bodies. Members of Congress should be there, expressing their rage, their outrage, their heartbreak of being a part of a system that betrays its own veterans, its government workers, folks who are literally dedicating their lives to serve. Just a week ago, I had a conversation, and we posted it online, with a young, brilliant sister who was fired with a day notice from the IRS. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like the IRS, but let me tell you, imagine being a small business owner trying to get your refund, right? Imagine trying to work 2 and 3 jobs and you need that refund. Her job was to make the interface of that website actually work for us. She came from the tech sector. She's a mother of 2 babies. Right here in the Bay Area, was given 1 day notice. We will get justice for her. We will get justice for every single member. I have to believe that. And so it is about a legislative agenda. It's also about a litigation agenda, and it is a movement agenda. And I think for every issue that we're struggling with, that 3-prong approach is how we have to move this thing. We've never, in the Nixon administration, he tried unsuccessfully to block funding to federal agencies at some crazy level. The courts took care of it. Unfortunately, all we have right now is the federal bench, the circuit bench. We don't have the Supreme Court. But I don't believe evil lasts forever. So we have to keep, we and me, have to keep this pressure on every single moment. I'm so thankful for the ACLU. I'm so thankful for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. I'm so thankful for the Masa la Centro Legal. I'm so thankful for Asian Americans for Justice. I'm so thankful for, the amazing public and private bar who's decided to defy with us, along with us, this crazy moment right now in the administration. Hopefully every single month, every single day, you're going to see updates on our websites from me about what we're doing to get closer to fighting back. But one of the things that I can say, we need more organizers in Congress. We cannot be afraid. We cannot be afraid. So we are fighting back, and I know I am.
What are you doing about illegal deportation? What are you doing about illegal deportation?
You guys, I was at Castlemont today. Y'all, it's bad. It's bad. I'm on the Oversight Committee and the Small Business Committee, and I love both. I went to Congress thinking that I was going to do the amazing work that I said I was going to do in campaign. I wanted to be on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. You don't have a civil society, without an amazing, robust public transportation system. I will still be fighting for public transportation every day. But leadership put me on the Oversight Committee, which gives me the opportunity. It's the investigatory committee of the United States Congress. And again, as a member on the minority, I'm not going to give up our power. So I don't want to say we have no power, because every moment that we're in DC, we have to exert. But we do have an opportunity as oversight Dems. It's not working.
Ellie, can someone come? Yeah, it's the cable. Here, do you want to use this one?
I'll use this one.
Oh, turn that one.
I mean, clearly, one of the things I want to do, if someone at every single high school could get new AV systems, our high schools deserve so much more, right? So much more. It's not the microphone's fault, not Oakland High's fault. It's a budgeting issue, and I hope I'm holding it the right way. One of the things that I will tell you, when I was at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, I was the executive director for some time. The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the San Francisco Bay Area was so proud of our asylum clinic. And again, it was an opportunity to expand asylum access for not just Spanish speakers, Mandarin and Cantonese speakers, or Nagua speakers, for indigenous speakers. You don't have any legal right to an attorney if you are in the immigration system, right? You don't. Civil Gideon never happened. And so one of the things that we are excited about is we're continuing to convene attorneys from the private bar, from our big firms who are giving us thousands of hours of pro bono work, so that folks can actually have representation. That said, in speaking with immigration attorneys, they have made it very clear to us, and these are the good guys, that we're in a very dangerous space. So again, the legislative approach in hearings to try to call a spade, we can't even call hearings. The Republicans get to call hearings. We just get to cross-examine their witnesses. But to tell the truth, I don't know if you all saw an oversight a couple of weeks ago, and we try to put clips on our website. I did talk about this moment akin to 1942 public law, right? So in 1942, the president released an executive order to round up folks just based on their race, Japanese Americans. And the Congress signed off on it. The illegal deportations of residents here in the United States masked in a lie that everyone who does not have papers is a violent criminal, is sick, and it's cruel. And Donald Trump is using the playbook of the president of El Salvador. And you might understand, and you know this, so I'm talking to the choir. That president, within a very short period of time, was able to rip up their constitution, their legislative process, and create a prison state. What we are doing is we're talking to our mayors, our city council members, we're talking to organizations that are supporting folks who are going through both the asylum and the immigration process to make sure they know what their rights are. But frankly, why I side at the question, we have an administration that doesn't follow the Constitution. And the constitutional rights of migrants, of folks who are seeking asylum, are not being protected. I wish again, as an organizer who's been working with populations of folks just fighting to stay alive in this country, could say that things are going to be okay in the short term. We are telling folks, have a plan. Our individual folks on the ground have a plan. Our principals have a plan. Making sure that our adults and our children, our elders and our seniors, they know their rights. Folks are being disappeared right now. And I hate to spread fear, but I'm nervous about the sanctity of the community that we have built. The promise that is etched on the Statue of Liberty. We have to fight for Civil Gideon. We have to, in this moment, fight the administration. I want to say that, in San Francisco and here in Oakland, there are federal employees that have been deputized by President Trump to deport people. men, women, and children in places where they should be safe. The problem is, and I lifted this up as well in committee, we have a broken asylum and immigration system. Let's fix that first before you start ripping up families. There are millions of people, I think it's 3.7 million people right now waiting for an asylum court date. Waiting for an asylum court date. We know, and I believe, in short order, when we take back the House, and we can't wait that long. That young man right now somewhere hiding under a bed in this city, afraid that his father ain't gonna come home, can't wait that long. But what we can do in the short and in the midterm is to continue to, one, hold this administration accountable in court. We have an amazing judge, local judge, that has just been amazing and said, you know what, I'm gonna do my job, I'm gonna live by the Constitution, turn that plane around. The administration didn't listen, but let's keep loving on these judges who are now facing illegal removal from the bench. So I want to do everything in my power. I want to learn from you all. I'm talking to other members of the House every single day how we can continue a coalition to protect, again, our people, our collective people, and the bench. There is a process if you want to remove a judge, but it sure shouldn't come from the executive branch in this way. The people decide. You go.
Shut your mic off for a second.
It's so painful.
I know. Can you shut? It's at the top. It's at the top. Yeah, just turn it off for it.
Go.
What can you do about the federal funding freeze, and can that and how can that support us locally?
Yeah. So thank you. What can we do about the federal funding freeze? So my first week here after being elected, we met with all the federally funded health clinics immediately. Again, they serve our we call them FQs, support 280,000 members of this community. That's a chunk. That's dialysis, that's prenatal care, that's diabetes support. These folks are going to their health clinics before they go to the ER. It saves us all resource. You have committed doctors and committed nurses and MAs and psychotherapists that are doing amazing work. Amazing work. Their funding was frozen. You know, we helped to push to get some of that liquidated, but not enough. You know, Baywell just told us that their grant, even though we were able to help push it through, it was cut in half. You know, just yesterday, we were made aware that the $2 million that we fought to get released for Asian Health Services has been released. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. The freezing of grants, again, is illegal. And although a judge said, unfreeze, unfreeze, but you have to know that in our office here and in DC, we are on the phone every single day with staff from each department, getting updates on when the hell are people going to get our money, their money, for the people of California's 12th district. That is the unsexy administrative work that we are committed to. And actually, I love it. Give me my money for our district. Fund our babies. Fund our seniors. So again, we're in this moment where I refuse to accept that we don't have power. We have to organize. We have to show up at the doors, which you all are doing with us, but we're doing that in our office. This is a long haul, but we're going to continue. There's a list that we have gotten from our 7 cities, including San Leandro and Albany, federal grants that you are already due. We don't have right now what our budget is going to be this year. Will we be able to bring new resources? We don't know, but I'm going to fight like hell so that we can. But you have to understand and know and believe that every single day that we are in the office, we are checking on those grants. We are checking on those federal funds that are owed to us as California. We are giving an exorbitant amount of tax to the United States government. We are going to get our money back. We are going to get our money back. We are going to strong arm peacefully to get our money back.
Can I just repeat the question when I tell you?
Yeah.
What are your top priorities in Congress?
What are our top priorities in Congress? Diala, you love this question because she's like, you want to do everything. And I do, because we are in a constitutional crisis, because we have a federal government that wants to steal from babies and the sick and the elderly. Yes, I want to work on transportation. I want to figure out how I work with local government. I mean, I have 3, but I want to tell you all the things I wanted to. I want to work, really, we also have, and you all know this, I talked about it yesterday at a convening of women. We have let our politics, even locally, divide us. We're Democrats. And we have let our local politics, the visceral nature of even our current election cycles, divide us in such a way that we will never get anything done. It only takes a couple of phone calls to report dumping, but when everybody fighting, we ain't getting nothing done. Nothing done. So I have made a real commitment to work with each one of our mayors. I've met with each one of our mayors, our police chiefs, and our fire chiefs in terms of our work here. We're working with community organizations. We're working with, again, the small business agency. We just brought the SBA with members of our wonderful chambers yesterday to a room to say, listen, we need our main streets to be vibrant. And I have been very focused on police accountability in my career. That doesn't mean I hate law enforcement officers. I don't like bad anybody. And if we're going to pay you, be of service, but also create police agencies that welcome in folks who want to be a part of the department. I have sent so many folks to BART Police. We're doing so much better. BART Police is 20% literally decrease in crime throughout the system. I'm so proud of the work that they have done there. We want every single chief of police, every single mayor, in our beautiful 12th district to have the resources they need to effectuate a government that is kind, just, and effective. So you'll be seeing me in this process in the next quarter, continuing to convene our local elected so we can get our stuff together. We need a 24-month plan of one, how we get our money back and how we get money that we paid into to continue to weave a web of commitments around public safety locally, right? And really around an ecosystem that works together. California 12, our electeds will work together. The beautiful thing of having a bit of a bully pulpit, one, people answer our calls, my calls, and they get to table. So my commitment, one, is during this time of international crisis, is to try to make sense of folks who have taken an oath to serve, and to sit at a table and get it together for all of us. There is no reason in the most wealthy region in the world that an elder cannot walk down the street and live in peace. And I'll tell you, from the CFARs who are wonderful, who have been saying, give me 300 jobs, you give me 300 jobs, we can cure a lot of the local crazy stuff that's going on in our streets. So I'm talking locally, I'll talk federally in a second. I built job programs. I helped to lift up an organization, the Young Women's Freedom Center, that has hired thousands of young people that have not gone back to prisons or jails. We have housed hundreds of people. I've worked on the streets, in prisons, and we know what it takes. It's jobs. I guarantee you, if our electeds and small business and big business are not working together to figure out how to solve an economic crisis for underemployed people, you will continue to get your cars broken into. If there is not enough opportunity, literally, and this is not hyperbole, if we have 450 more jobs for young people under the age of 35 that are well paid so they can get a studio apartment, you will see less crime on the streets. Those jobs are not going to come from anywhere. So my work with the port, my work, again, with the CFARs, my work with unions, my work with small business, hopefully will effectuate more opportunities that will take extra resource. I get it. So I have a need and a wanting as a renter in downtown Oakland. No, not in a big tower. Like, okay, I have a small 2-bedroom apartment. I want to see us safe, and I want to see government work. On the federal level, and I'll just be quick, my priority as a freshman member of Congress is to lead and to vote the ways in which you have sent me to vote. It's as simple as that. Everything, hell no. Unless it is about bringing new opportunity, to the Bay Area and to members of our international and national community. There will be votes that I struggle with, right? But my commitment is to say no to the Trump agenda. My second priority is to work with the caucuses that I mentioned earlier to make sure it takes an approximately 7 years to get any good piece of legislation, despite the administration, out of committee and onto that floor. It's crazy, right? Although I did pass my first bill. Very happy about that. To get more money to small businesses, we have another bill right now that we will get out of committee that will be bipartisan to provide incentives to small businesses to employ disabled people. I'm very proud of that bill as well. But it's to work with the caucuses to make sure that our legislative agenda, you don't just start when we take back the Congress, right? We need to be pushing in committee. We need to be authoring legislation for reproductive health for all. By the way, has anybody been to the Barberly Health Clinic? That is so amazing. The new Planned Parenthood on 14th and Broadway, the largest Planned Parenthood in the nation. Protect those people with all costs. Protect those folks at all costs. But in every community, whether we're talking about reproductive health, where we're talking about I want to make sure that you all see us fight with all that we have to preserve Medicaid and Medi-Cal and Social Security. That is a priority. Our legislative agenda needs to be so clear that we will not, and I refuse, and there's some moderate Democrats that I'm fighting with every single day. My priority is to make sure that our voices are key in the Democratic Party. You cannot stifle who we are. So when you say identity politics, you want to get rid of those, then you're turning your back on that 12-year-old trans kid who deserves all that they deserve. You're turning your back on that disabled student, whether you agree with me or not on some of these issues, sitting in living room tables, listening to parents, listening to young people, knowing that we still have a bloated criminal justice system that is not keeping us more safe. I am very clear that my work in the Congress, as somebody who's only 3 months in, is to raise hell every single day to make sure that not only we're heard, but that we will win. And I know, these glasses are big, but they're not rose-colored. I understand the fight, and it's the fight of our lives. It is, but you all, with the push that you are giving me every day, it keeps me strategic. It's not okay just to be loud and on nighttime news. I want to be in smaller rooms than bigger rooms in DC, where the decisions are made about how we're going to move. But in this first 2 years, it is fighting back against an administration that doesn't see more than half of the people in this room as human. That's my work.
We're going to do one more and then we'll open it up.
We're going to do one more and then we'll open it up.
Does it help to call your office, and what else can we do?
Yeah. Does it help to call my office, and what else can we do? Well, thank you, House Admin, for just getting our phones in a few days ago and to the Oakland office. So yes, it's going to be amazing once we're, all of the things are hooked up and wonderful. Just a few days, we'll have all of our information on the website about our local office. First of all, whoever asked that question, who asked that question? Because y'all have been blowing up our phones. And sweet Kaylin in the DC office, if you call her, she is so wonderful. Listen, we only have, we have 5 staff, and they are working. They're in early. One day we left at 1:30 a week ago, and I was like, wow, this is really what it takes. We love getting every single call. You know what it does for us? What it allows me to do is go immediately into committee, immediately on the floor. We're doing a lot of floor speeches and saying what the hell we deserve. I have been saying, Misty called yesterday and she talked about the fact that her mother is in a care home in Richmond that is 70% Medicaid funded. And she has full insurance and they have resources. Knowing that if in fact these cuts happen, the center is dilapidated. So these cuts don't just affect the poor. They affect the whole infrastructure. And when she said that, I was like, yes, this is an invasion on all that we are. You attack the poor, you attack the disabled, you attack all of us. And so I love the calls, and we do read the emails and we do read the messages. We actually had to expand, because y'all are really working, Indivisible, expand our capacity to take messages. I think, initially when we got in, you could only hold 35 messages. But if you're getting 800 calls a day, you remember there was that moment where you couldn't even leave a message. So we've worked really hard with house admin. But what I want you all to do, sisters and brothers and siblings, I want you to call the Republicans. Call the Republicans, because what you know you will get with me. Don't stop calling, because I always want to know where we need to push harder. And when you're upset with me, I'm good with that. I like the feedback. I like accountability. But I want us, I have a Republican, we get to have flags outside of our offices, and the flags that they have are just horrible. It's racist. I've never, ever, in the Bay Area, we fight bad Democrats. There we are literally fighting people who, all the things. But when I'm going down the hall, their phones aren't ringing. Ours are. So from an organizing standpoint, what are we doing? Right? So make them fear our organizing. The Republicans are servants. Blow up their phones. But yes, I think it's a really, really important thing to keep folks engaged. Senate Democrats, those 10, keep calling them. Let them know how disappointed you are in them. I really do appreciate the engagement. We want to actually feel like, a member that loves each and every person who is taking the time to engage, because for you, you're speaking for 300 people, right? Plus, right? Every phone call, every email. But always know, for the most part, I believe we have so much in common. If you can't make that call, know that I got you, that we have each other. And that if we do more of these things, I'll be able to hear more of you. And particularly in also smaller settings where we could actually be in living rooms, we want to do that stuff too. So.
Okay. Here. We're going to take questions from the audience. Ellie, who you see walking down, she's our senior caseworker. Say hi to Ellie, please. Ellie has done over 120 casework for folks in the community. Just come line up right over here, please, in this aisle if you can, and we'll open it up to questions.
And if you can't get to the aisle, just raise your hand, and we'll make sure that.
If you can't get to the aisle, just raise your hand, and we'll make sure to come grab you. Thank you.
Say it again.
Okay, there, she hasn't gone yet.
Okay.
You have to check the mode of the mic. Is it working?
Yes.
There we go.
Hi. First of all, thank you for all that you said. I feel a little better tonight. You answered the question a little bit when asked about how do we fight back with the people who are being deported illegally.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of our hopes are on the court system. Trump has already shown that he's going to just ignore them.
Yes.
And obviously the courts don't have a military.
Yes.
For so many of these issues, our normal paths are not available to us. So I'm wondering what kind of conversations are Democratic leadership having, particularly in the caucus that you're part of, because I think that's where the ideas are going to come from. What kind of creative approaches, whether procedurally or in terms of civil disobedience or something really beyond what's happened before, what kind of conversations are happening about the creative response?
I appreciate that. I don't know if my mic is working.
Is it on?
I mean, Diala, you can butt in. I would love for you to, but I want to say that there's a lot of creative work happening right now that's beyond the bench strategy. And it's not because folks are not trying to think of a way to save good people who have been failed by a process, by a promise. I think that has really been the remedy. It has been the remedy. In fact, DOJ will be prosecuting our mayors and elected officials, potentially even me. We have held Know Your Rights sessions, right, for lawyers to talk about how they're going to be working with folks who are struggling to get those court dates. There are members of the Republican Party that are trying to expel members from Congress for doing just Democratic members from Congress for doing just this. In the last 3 months, again, I have so much faith in the NGO space, the organizers, the movement lawyers. I believe they are going to save this nation, along with the people on the ground, along with our dreamers, along with our folks who believe in a constitution that is not necessarily being implemented right now. I wish I could say something different. I'm never going to lie to this group. We're not in a good space. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think that, the Congresswoman will continue to work through the Progressive Caucus as they try and push back as hard as they can and hold, their leadership accountable and push things forward. And again, we welcome you to contact our office. In the street.
Okay, well, so let me tell you something about that. Okay, so she said, what can we do in the streets? I think, okay, so listen, one of the things that some of the best organizers are in this room. So actually, I want to ask you that question. And because I can say we can be out in the streets, what I don't want, let's be in the streets. I voted no on the Lake and Riley Act. Twice. And let me tell you about time number 2. When it got to the Senate, these folks put an amendment on the Lake and Riley Act that took advantage of a horrific crime to demonize a whole group of people. It doesn't get at all to the goal of safety and community. It is cruel. It is ridiculous. I believe it's unconstitutional. The Lake and Riley Act, when it came back, we good folks voted against it. It did pass because there's more of the Republicans in the House. Then it goes to the Senate. The Senate puts an amendment on it that says, okay, not just if you're accused of stealing some jeans from the Gap, can we deport you if you don't have papers? But wait, let's actually put some more on it. If you have any interaction with law enforcement that is deemed unsatisfactory, you're eligible for immediate deportation. You know why they did that? To keep our folks out of the streets. So our dreamers, our youth organizers, our young scientists, they can't be out in the streets. So one thing that allies can do is absolutely show up. And you all have been showing up. Folks, every single day in the Capitol and here, we have been seeing, and I like to walk any line. If there's a protest outside right now, I'm there too. I want us to have our bullhorns everywhere. Yes, Indivisible, there's organizations that are here in the audience. Raise your hand if you're with a direct action organization and you want folks to know who you are. So April 5th is hands off protest on April 5th. Okay, so on my campaign page, because I can't put that on my official page, but we'll make sure, if you inbox us and you let us know, we'll make sure that we get all of that stuff out. Also, one of the things that I think I can do differently, just kind of hearing some of this feedback, at our next town halls, at our next gatherings, which I want to do more of, we'll make sure that organizations are tabling. But if you have flyers, just make sure you're putting your stuff right here. And folks, come up and see the flyers after. There's one thing I can be sure of. Politicians are not gods. They will, including me, disappoint you if in fact they're not engaging full community, right? We are never going to do all that is needed. It is going to take all of us. So from the 5th and every other opportunity that we can be in the streets, and saying that, I mentioned Lake and Riley because we have to protect our folks. Our folks are power-filled, but right now in this administration, some folks are not powerful, right? That any moment they can be susceptible to the cruelty of this administration. I've been telling dreamers, I don't know if I think it's a good idea if you to go to that action. We want you safe, and we want you in a process where you can get your rightful citizenship. And that's a horrible thing for an organizer to say, don't show up. Don't show up. But we all know that, as students of history, we all knew that white students in the civil rights movement, we always talk about the civil rights movement, but when you talk about white allies who were also supportive in the Black Panther Party, they went up oftentimes and held the line in front of Black students when Black students were being beaten by the police in Berkeley, California. We can always show up in our allyship. We can be in the streets. We can also work with our community organizations. La Raza La Centro Legal is an amazing organization right now, knocking on doors, letting folks know, regardless of your status, you have constitutional right to support. So supporting organizations, we'll put some of those on our official and unofficial page so you can see all of that. But the body of knowledge in this room, this is the most activated district in the country. We all know what we need to do. And we do need to be in these streets. We do need to be writing letters. We do need to be calling Republicans. The Republicans in California, they have registered over 500,000 voters in the last, I think, 2 quarters. We're only about registering, I think it's like less than 150,000 new Democrats. Y'all, we can lose congressional seats. So we can be registering voters, right? We can be in the streets. We will take back the House. We can support our local electeds because they will be under fire under the Trump administration. Sorry, that was too long. There's a lot of people. Continue. I'll be faster.
I'll be fast. This is a quick question. The court said to release the money to USAID. Has any money been released? I can't find any record of it.
We don't believe so. None. So we're gonna keep thumping, and the amazing organizations again like Democracy Forward and others are on them every single day to release that resource and to hire back those folks, good folks.
Hi, it's Gary Clare from All Rise Alameda.
Hello. Thank you.
In the parade.
All rise there on my neck. I appreciate you. I love it. I love it.
So following up, like you said, what are we doing in the streets? Everybody knows about the red cards, know your rights cards, and what we've been doing is printing them actually on white paper because it's easier to print them home and pass them out. Calling Republicans, the California Democrats of C12 group, I don't know the exact name of it, but what they're doing is they're calling in the Republican districts, and they have a pass-through system where you can
That's
call
great.
and immediately pass through. Then that way you know these are active people. So those are a couple things. I'm really glad you said that about calling you and getting in touch with you. And we will try not to bother you too much.
If you have the time, I love it. Thank you.
But what would be great is if we know, like when you say that, we know that you're going to vote for that, so we don't have to bug you about that.
That's actually very helpful. Okay.
Yeah. So let us know for that. So just for me, it looks like there's a coming recession, right? And so I'm wondering if there's any ways, like when you have the organizing office set up, like for mutual aid and things like that, because our people are eating food and education and all the things. So any ideas on that line would be great.
I love that so much. Yes. So yes and yes. Can we get together and talk about it? During COVID, I was the head of the Akhenaten Foundation, and we were able to put together some amazing central organizations to do, my God, United Players and Homies Unidos, and there's amazing organizations that were set up to do great mutual aid. I would love to be a part of that conversation, both in our office and also working with some of the NGOs out there to really help folks. From BOSS to Youth Uprising. There's some great institutions all over the Bay, all over C12 that I think could be really great and part of that. Let's talk. I think you have my number too. Call me directly. I can't give my number to everybody, but will you have my number? I am. It's the longest parade in United States history. But yes, I love it. I'll be there.
Let's see, but can you repeat the question?
I will repeat the question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for everything you're doing, and I just love you guys. I wanted to ask, just not to add another negative fly in the ointment of all that's going on about the Defense Department. And specifically, the day that they fired Charles,
Yes.
he also fired the
Shocking.
heads of all of the JAG force.
Yep.
And those are the guardrails that stopped him from firing on George Floyd protests.
That's exactly right.
And I'm scared to death that he's now getting to a point to say, just give me a reason. Just give me a reason to go into Oakland or Manhattan.
Yep.
And I guess I'm wondering, is Congress thinking about that?
We are. In oversight, I think it was 3 weeks ago, committee, we brought this up. Doge is the most ridiculous group of people, the most ridiculous group of unqualified people. You're going to fire the chief joint of staff who has a 4-star general, but you'll let a computer programmer with less than 2 years of college dismantle an institution. It's insane. So I'm right with you. One of the things that we said in that hearing, Doge, if it really wanted to do the right thing, which we know that they're incapable of doing because they're not about the mission of helping people, which government is supposed to do, they would go directly to the institution that has failed the last 7 audits. 7 audits. There's more than $380 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse in the Pentagon. That means making a lot of rich contractors happy with no deliverables just in the past 2 fiscal years, we believe. And we'll get updated numbers. But I am completely in agreement with you. But I said, if you want to do something about waste, fraud, and abuse, you would bring those folks accountable and to the table and to fund our teachers. There's no reason that folks need to be sleeping on the concrete in the United States of America when we're paying billions of dollars to contractors, Pentagon contractors that refuse to submit reports, that continue to lie to us. The Defense Department has failed, I will say, 7 audits. And you want to go after teachers' unions. So we're right there with you. We're going to keep flaming. You know, Barbara Lee spoke on this day after day after day. Put a lens under the folks who are making the bombs, not the teachers and the healers. I don't know what we're going to do there, particularly because, again, you fire the most qualified folks, particularly Black men. You fire folks, you take transgender folks out of the armed forces, you're doing egregious acts, and there are no guardrails. Listen, if we make it out of this, it's going to take all of us. Every day we're baffled. We're saying that there's no, I don't even have words, but all I know is that every day we're going to continue to create coalition to fight back this evil. Evil cannot last long.
We're gonna take a question from a man back there.
Okay, we're going to take a question back here, and then I'm going to go quicker, and we'll take your question, and then we'll go there, and then we'll probably close the line after that. I know some folks need to get on. Here's a question.
Hi, George Nyhart asking about foreign policy. The Trump administration has taken money out of our State Department and out of our United Nations, and relying on bombs and bullets to advance U.S. interests. What's your thoughts on foreign policy?
So many thoughts. Actually, one of the committees that I wanted to serve on was Foreign Affairs Committee. I like Ms. Lee and I like Ron Dellums. I'm an internationalist. It is my deep politic that we are really one. The foreign policy inflicted by the Trump administration in just 3 short months has shown us now to be a foe, not because our participations in wars, horrific wars, but now are standing on the global stage, ejecting ourselves out of the Paris Agreement, out of NAFTA. I mean, we're again, I mean, God, I wish I had something positive to say outside. We're going to fight like hell. But the reality is our closest allies, including the Ukraine, including Canada, including the UK, including West African nations, including South Africa, that we stood with this district, had everything to do with helping to free South Africa than any other nation in the world. Do you remember it was Ron Dellums who went to Maxine Waters in the State Assembly and Senate and said, what if we divest CalPERS? We can free South Africa. I mean, like these brilliant minds, these young politicians. I hope to lead in the stead of many of our heroes in foreign policy. I am a conscientious objector. Will always be anti-war, and I understand that that's very Pollyannish. But again, the essence of this district has always been about pushing diplomacy. I hope to be in the stead when we have an administration that undoes the burdens that we've caused historically, but particularly in the last 3 months. We have set ourselves back. Everything, I mean, foreign policy is not necessarily, we're talking about knives, sticks, oil, and guns and bombs, but it's also about our deflection and what makes America great. It's having students and brilliant minds come here to work in our labs, to cure famine, to cure diseases and HIV, and we're getting rid of PEPFAR. We have a Nobel Prize winning lab just 10 miles away, if not that, at Cal that is being defunded. We have a role in supporting folks who are leaving famine. We have a role in supporting the hungry. We have a role in supporting folks who are refugees. We could be intervening in a peaceful way and Eastern Africa, we refuse to do the right thing. We're not doing the right thing by providing any humanitarian support to the victims of the Palestinian-Israeli war. We could be doing so much more. I don't believe until we get rid of this current president and vote him out and revive our constitutional dignity that we're going to see our foreign policy effectuate what we know it should be. Let me just be clear, under Democratic administrations, we weren't doing that damn good either. The reason why we had such migrant flow, was we were, culpable in nations all across the world, creating more degradation. The good work that we were doing in the face of all of that is also now being shattered. So, sir, we have a lot of work to do. You can count on me to be a voice of reason when we're talking about not only our local policy, but our foreign policy. I want to learn more from all of you all, but yes, I'm right there with you.
I love your fighting spirit. What are the chances that you or any of your Democratic colleagues can persuade enough Republican representatives to force Elon Musk to testify before Congress?
Yes. Okay, we can get there. We can get there. So on the Oversight Committee, and I got to say something about the Republican Party. If one thing that there are a lot of things, but they are unified in a way that is like shocking, because you know that they know that they are moving forth an agenda that pushes their grandmothers into the river. You know they know that. You know that they know that they are talking about taking Social Security benefits from the people they love. You know that they are talking about emaciating public schools that teach their grandchildren. Not all Republicans are wealthy. We know that they have convinced the good people of the United States to vote against their interest. So I do feel, again, as someone who lost my husband, who ended up in $1 million of debt based on trying to get him through leukemia. We buried him almost 10 years ago. I know that our story, my children's story, it is an American story. And I know that we can win on Medicare and Medicaid. I feel like that is a way that we can permeate this bullshit, right? Like you can't, in Southern Virginia, cut food stamps from poor white women and get away with it as a Republican. I mean, it's not just us and teen mothers like I was who need WIC and food stamps. So I believe that if we are, and hopefully you'll see me, I actually bought these crazy big glasses so my mother can see me on C-SPAN. She's like, I see you. Why are you on that side? Because I actually really want you all to know that I want to do uncomfortable work every day in committee. It's why I submitted, again, my first and second bill that were co-authored by Republicans. You can't work with them all, but being a legislator is not a principle. The job is to work with even people you don't necessarily agree with. We can win on Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, but it's going to take organizing. It's going to take quiet meetings in offices and off campus. I do think that we have a wedge there.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for doing this. I think, as we all know here, there are a lot of Republican members of Congress currently hiding from their constituents.
They should.
It's very great to see you here taking questions live. The other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to amplify the comments of the woman who talked about the system for calling people in Republican districts to tell them to call their people. Because I know a lot of people who've worked in Congress, including Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg, the co-founders of Indivisible, have said that, when they were working in a Senate office, they found that, if they got a call from outside their district, it just went in the trash. So that's why, I frequently text my parents who are in a Republican district to tell them to call. And I would recommend you encourage people to do that, because I don't know that any of us here in Oakland calling Republicans does anything, but if we can get people in Republican districts, that's valuable. I hope you have
Exactly. I appreciate that because you're right. I was actually talking about just blowing up their phones. We do ask when folks call, we do usually ask your zip code because we want to make sure, particularly for for our constituents that were taking a lot more time. But I will tell you, because of organizations, some of the organizations in this room, we are getting calls from all over the country. But one of the things I love that one of the sisters said was, we do need to do a better job at making sure you all know what our votes are. I want to save your time so that you can call some of the Republicans. So you'll see that in effect next week.
Hello, Congresswoman Simon. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for all the work you're doing. And I don't say this lightly, but this administration's recent actions parallel ethnic cleansing campaigns we have seen for history.
Yes. Yes.
It starts with dehumanization. It goes into legal warfare, mass expulsion, violence by proxy, and we are on step 4, and history has shown us what happens on step 5.
Yeah.
We are not just in a constitutional crisis, but we're seeing a dictatorship rise in real time.
That's right.
And as you said, the recent censure of Al Green is a continuing resolution where litmus tests that sadly 10 Democrats failed at spectacularly. It's about the and I know that you're clearly doing your part with your vote and with your time on the committees and the floor and meeting this bill with the more clarity and urgency it requires. However, I am asking you and the rest of the party to hit the GOP even harder with the 3 O's: to overwhelm, outmaneuver, and obstruct.
Say again. Overwhelm. So when you say overwhelm, give me a little bit more.
I mean,
No, I want to hear.
Steve Bannon quote where he says that they just want to flood the zone. And
Yeah.
that is what they have done for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
They have made us feel hopeless. They
Yeah.
have just done some absolutely horrible stuff. Because when fascism breaks down the door, we cannot meet with a welcome mat. We need a firewall. So my question is, how will you continue to hold the line, and how will you bring that fighting spirit to the rest of the party? Because it's very clear that some of your party think that it's so reason with them.
I can't wait to sit down with you. I want to know who you are, and I want to be organizing with you. Thank you. I mean, one of the things, I want to be so accountable to you. I actually want you. What's your name? Can you say?
My name is
Alan?
Alan, yes.
I want you to be able to say in just a few months, like, we had this conversation and Lateefah's not leaving anything literally on the floor. Like, I owe that to you. I owe that to you. I'm so saddened. I just couldn't believe that the Democrats did that. You know, I couldn't believe it. And you will be a wonderful teacher for me, because as someone who is not ahistorical, I'm reading what you're reading as well. I know, and again, as an organizer, it's a very different, it's a different apparatus being in Congress. But one of the things that I can promise you, I will never forget the movement that raised me, ever, in those spaces. And so let me just be clear. Walking out is not hard. I was shocked that more people didn't do it, right? Writing letters is not hard. Signing on to legislation is not hard. Being at a direct action is not difficult. I want to do the difficult work. So I would love to continue to work with you and other folks in this room, you know, to give the push on my back to do the uncomfortable work. What does overwhelming look like? What is organizing? What was the third? Obstructing, right? What does that look like? We need movements to obstruct unjust laws. You also need your legislators. I mean, I got more suits than I've ever had in the last 4 weeks in my suit on that floor, but also outside. I want to also, in the obstruction, I want you to know that, you know, as someone who will be a serious legislator, I don't want to just talk. I want to do. So I can't wait to partner with you and make sure that you give Ellie or Hannah your card, or we'll get our card to you so that we can start working together. Thank you.
Just want to flag for folks, we only have the room for another 10 minutes until
Okay.
7:30.
It's totally my fault. No more TED Talks. I'll be quick. Okay, we're going to stop the line. Why don't you guys do this, okay? If everyone can ask their question, and then I will just do a summary. And if I don't get to your question, I promise, one, this won't be the last time. And two, our staff will make sure we get back to you on your question. Everyone's questions will be answered. So why don't we just go through?
Fill out a comment card and give us your email, and we'll get back to you if we don't get to your question.
But I do want to hear your voices, so we just do questions.
Thank you so much for coming. My question is about cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
I just learned of Trump's business in cryptocurrency, and I'm wondering if it's on the radar somewhere to be monitoring who is giving and how much?
Yep. Okay.
Or buying, not giving, buying, I guess
Yep.
buying.
Okay. I'll answer your question at the end. Make sure we get to the crypto. Okay. Thank you for the question.
Hi, I'm a new attorney and I'm also a federal employee at one of our great agencies. And I'm wondering what your stance is on Supreme Court reform, what particular policies that you support in terms of how we're going to reform the court and make it more accountable.
I love that question. My daughter is also a new attorney and federal employee, so I know the stress that y'all are going through and what your parents and family did to get you through law school, and then now, I'm so glad that you're serving. So glad that you're serving. I'll answer your question.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. I wanted to share some information that everybody needs to know about. Everybody knows, may not know, but most people know about the name Cleta Mitchell,
Yes.
who ran the phone call, the Georgia phone call. Okay, Cleta Mitchell has an operation called Operation Eagle AI, the data scraping operation. I have stories here from Brennan Center for Justice. Eagle AI isn't so intelligent, so they're using artificial intelligence to scrape data to knock people off the rolls. Greg Palast, who did a forensic investigation of the last election, determined there was at least 3.5 million people that were legally knocked off the rolls by using things like Eagle AI. They're scraping data. They're then caging voters. They're sending them a postcard. If you don't return a postcard, you get knocked off the rolls. Okay, so I want everybody to know about this. Eagle AI, run by Cleta Mitchell, who was the attorney who was running the Georgia phone call. Watch out for the name of this operation.
Ellie, can you make sure you take that information, and what we'll do is we'll look into it. I want to make sure I learn more about what's happening there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, Congresswoman Simon. Thanks for being here. I'm also almost an attorney, but I lost my job. It doesn't matter. That's my question.
It totally matters. It totally matters.
The job, but I was over the IRS. Anyways, my question is actually, you mentioned earlier that jobs are really important to resolve crime. I totally agree. I didn't hear you mention housing, and I'm wondering, are you a YIMBY? Yes, in my backyard. And if so, what do you think we need to do to build more dense housing in the Bay Area?
Well, I can't wait to answer that question. I want to answer it right now, but I'm going to wait. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thank you both for your public service and your backbone, especially with the governor who's flirting with fascism right now. Capitulating and throwing out their DEI policies. We have a Black maternal health crisis, and that was something that Kamala Harris really championed and really brought greater attention to. Not only just the negative aspects, but living joyfully, because I have a lot of friends who don't even want to have children because they're so bombarded with the negative statistics. So my question is, can you continue to join the others in Congress who are championing
100%.
and really push to expand Medicaid, because 2/3 of Black women nationally and in California who give birth are on Medi-Cal. And so if Medicaid is taken away or changed in any way, and we already have these really terrible health outcomes, including in California, it's not just in Mississippi, Black women here are going to continue to die or worse. So please continue to champion this, and can you talk about what you can do to advocate for expansion?
I want to make sure you get your information, because I'll address it, but I want to make sure, don't leave or get your information to Ellie, because I do really want to work with you on reproductive health for Black women specifically, for all women, but Black women. My daughter's one of her best friends in law school passed away a week before she had her baby in a C-section. So my daughter had her child, but a week before, a young, brilliant, young Black lawyer from Howard University died. And these birth rates are horrific. And if you haven't seen me talk about it, doesn't. It's shocking. So again, there are issues that I didn't talk about today, and woe is me for that. I apologize, but that are so deeply, not only in my heart, but in the work that I've done. But I would love to deeply engage a lot more so that we can be lifting up these core issues that are integrated into Medi-Cal, Medicaid, the fight for healthcare in this country, and particularly centering women of color and Black women. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
I'm with Oakland Education Association, and my question is, how can we reach out, or what's your perception of what's going on with Republican
necessarily MAGA, but like maybe more normal Republican, I guess. How can we reach them? Because I don't see the numbers, see all this awful stuff happening, but it doesn't seem like it's impacting their thinking.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. Now there's a few more people. Just if you guys could do 10 seconds each, and then we got to stop the line. You've lined up, you've come here, you've parked.
I'm John Spangler. I'm Vice Chair of the Park Advisory Task Force. And I thank you for your promotion, Congress. I want to know what's going to happen to the operational and capital funds that the feds have already promised to BART and to BTA for the Silicon Valley extension. Are they going to pull that money back? That's $5 billion for San Jose.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank
I'll try
you.
to be as quick as I can. But with the way you said at the beginning, there doesn't seem to be a lot of ability to use any federal effort against what's happening. How are we using state efforts? For example, I'm pretty sure that what Elon Musk is doing is a violation of the California Consumer Privacy
Yes,
Act.
it is.
How can we do that? Forget the Fed stuff, it's not working. State.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for being here. My question is, do you foresee any policy or issue areas where there are opportunities for bipartisan consensus with some of the Republicans in Congress? Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you.
I love that question. Thank you.
I work in the nonprofit sector and I support hundreds of clients every cycle for the federal nonprofit security grant. And right now I have over 50 clients with $5 million on hold for reimbursement due to the FEMA funding freeze. We advocated for it yesterday on NPR as well and KQED. But I would love to see if there's any advocacy work on trying to get that hold after April 15th when they're saying we're not sure. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Hi. I was confused by your recent vote with Republicans to allow crypto gains to not be reported by taxes. But separate from that, I want to encourage you to, like some Congress people, like explain their votes. Like instead of me having to ask you here, like I was just confused. Why did you do that? It would be good to have a blurb like this, like whatever that one.
Yep, we'll put that out. Yep, thank you for that.
Yes, I appreciate you so much for what you're doing. I have called your office and I feel encouraged being here tonight. I've been really, really, really saddened by what's going on in our country. I'm a teacher, I'm an elder, and I'm sick of what's happening. So what I want to specifically ask is, you're talking about 2 years from now. I'm concerned about election fraud. I'm concerned about now, but I'm also concerned that in 2 years, we're not going to have a vote anymore.
That's right.
So
That's right.
That's right.
That's
so
right.
It isn't taken away from
That's
us.
right.
And I appreciate you and keep going.
I appreciate your question.
Critical programs in Alameda County, and that is our older adults and our elderly services. And the Medicaid cuts and the Medi-Cal cuts will drastically impact those programs. And so my question to you is that you stated earlier that the Republicans do something very, very well. They have a playbook, they stick together, even to detriment. I want to know what the Democrats are learning from that.
Yep.
What is your
Yep.
Thank you so much for everything you said. It really is uplifting for this whole tonight. And on climate, and we are all here. It was a beautiful day. It's something that we can ignore, but like a month ago, a fire ripped through all of LA.
That's right.
A couple decades ago, we had a firestorm in the hills. What can we do on climate in this Congress?
Yep.
Yep.
You guys are fantastic. So I'm going to try just in a couple of minutes to answer just a couple of the questions. They were all amazing. What I think we need to commit to, staff, there's Ben. Ben broke his foot, so he's kind of just listening and taking all the notes and live streaming. There are questions, the ones that I don't get to, like the gentleman said, like the person said who said that we need to be blurbing when we make confusing votes, because every single vote that we take, we're sitting and we're gnawing through. We're on the phone with groups. We're fighting in the office. We're trying to figure out, again, how we can best represent this district. And some of the votes are confusing, and we do need to do a better job at being accountable to you. So I want to make sure, without going into a long diatribe now, I want us to post because we have a written rationale to every vote, particularly the ones that are confusing. I want those to be completely visible on our website, and for our staff when they're answering the phone to give an explanation. If you're not talking straight to me, you should be able to see what those are. So I really, really appreciate that. It's really, you're gonna teach me how, 3 months in, to be the best public servant that I can be. I actually really love the feedback. There was conversations in, the 10 people that asked questions. I mean, everything from bipartisanship. It's going to be tough, but I have to believe that humans are good people, even though they may do bad things. Small business is a place. The Small Business Committee is a place where I believe we're going to have a lot of inroads. Main streets all over the country are struggling. And my Republican colleagues and I agree that the administration and cutting SBA jobs in centers, urban centers across the country, it's a horrible idea. I believe they even believe that. And so there are places where we will find unity. We will find unity, again, around healthcare justice. I won't call it that when I'm talking to them, but healthcare for our seniors and for our children, particularly disabled children and folks living the last amazing years of their lives. There was conversations again about maternal health care. I actually need to lift that up in my work. For over 15 years, I was at the Young Women's Freedom Center, as its executive director, spending so much of my time making sure that young people in the foster care system, in the juvenile and criminal justice system, had access to their basic fundamental right of bodily health care, of reproductive health care, and have witnessed so many beautiful and tragic births, and have seen how government, even in Democratic administrations nationally and locally, don't take good care of our folks as they should be. So in a Republican regime, we know that there's so much work to do. There was conversations, there was a couple of other that I think I can get to quickly. Housing, oh my goodness. So, there are very few folks in the United States Congress. One, I'm the only single mom with a school-age kid. Isn't that crazy? Like the only single mom with a school-age kid with I'm her only parent. Her father died of cancer, left, his illness left us bankrupt. And I'm also the only person who I know that I've talked to that was homeless, as a young person in the Bay Area. Like, not having a key will do something to you fundamentally that is indescribable unless you have lived that thing, right? And I refuse in some ways, I talk about I'm a Democrat all the time because, I kind of believe in sets, but I'm pro-housing. And so my role on BART, what I'm most proud of, and I know Tanya Love is in here and some folks from BART are in here, one of the most proud of is having 3 portfolios of dense housing in transit-oriented spaces on BART land. West Oakland will have dense, amazing housing that will be both affordable and market, led by a Black developer firm. We are building, and BART will always be my family, and this was my portfolio, and I'm gonna keep working on this project. We will be building senior housing on top of Lake Merritt. That BART station, we will rename it Chinatown Station. It will be dense, amazing housing for seniors who were pushed out because of redevelopment. I believe that our corridors, as somebody who was born in the Fillmore district in San Francisco, completely gentrified out of our neighborhoods by high wealth individuals, that we have to have a multitude of housing opportunities, because if not, folks with a lot of resources move into our grandmother's houses, and forever folks are forever displaced. The Fillmore was once a Black neighborhood. If you went there, you wouldn't ever know that. West Oakland could have the same fate if we don't figure out in the Bay Area how to build housing. In North Berkeley, Rebecca, who was on the BART board, who's amazing, was now a city council person in Pinole, was leading that project. I'm leading the project. I was leading the project for Ashby. Worked so hard on it. We will have great affordable housing that will restore the flea market. You got to build housing. I'm a renter right now. I don't know if I'll ever own a house. My daughter does. I don't think I'm ever going to have 20% down. That being said, I really do care, as someone who was homeless with a young baby, how folks have access to housing. And in these bedroom communities in the Bay Area, they have to be zoned, right? It's uncomfortable, but you know what's more uncomfortable? Walking over someone who's sleeping on the concrete, right? It's uncomfortable dehumanizing people without a place to sleep. It is unhuman to not have treatment on demand for folks struggling with drugs and alcohol. I can go down that line, but I want to make sure that you all know this is our first of many town hall meetings, that I'm accountable to you. We will hopefully agree most of the time. Where we don't agree, let's struggle. Let's get into it. Let's get into the mud. Respectfully arguing is the best way that we get to peace and justice in our communities. I want to be available. Thank you all so much. I'm going to get to my kids, and let's do more of this. I'm so happy. Let's take a selfie. Want to do that? I just want to do whoever can stand. Thanks, guys.